So, greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking, and I am Dale Barzy. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey. Today, I'm very pleased to welcome Dawn Kralovich out of New York. Dawn has been a registered nurse for more than 22 years. She's worked in many different areas, including ICU, CCU, trauma, and post open heart. She's also a board certified nurse life coach and is the owner operator of Down with the Wellness Coaching and Counseling. And she says her love and passion to help others has blossomed from a whole body, holistic standpoint. And now she helps people regain their power and take back their health and wellness as they navigate life's challenges. Dawn smilingly says that she's
Thank
happily
you.
married to an amazing husband and has five beautiful children. So, welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure. What an introduction. Let me just come down from that gloating moment, the pedestal you just put me on down. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you
Well,
so much.
you've earned it. I look at what you've done. You've more than earned it.
Awesome. True, true. I will take that compliment and absorb it. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. So, why are you a nurse, though, Dawn? What brought you here?
Ooh, I feel like that's a loaded question. So I'm going to just make it really simple, right?
Mhm.
I have wanted to be a nurse since I was 5 years old. Um, we had a career day in kindergarten, and we went to a local college that had a nursing program. And there was a back then, talking many years ago,
Mhm.
about 35 years ago, there was the local newspaper was there taking pictures of this career day, and it was one of the big newspapers for our area. And I just walked in and I saw a nurse wearing the old white nursing cap and all like the white skirt with the stockings, just, very Florence Nightingale-ish. And I walked over and there was a mannequin on a table, and she said, "Would you like to give an injection to this dummy?" Yeah, I know. You can tell times have changed there a little bit. But I said, yeah, and I was very intrigued. And she talked to me for a little bit. And my, I have a picture of it still. There's a picture of me wearing the old white nursing cap at 5 years old, injecting this into the dummy leg. And it made front of the paper, like a big picture of me front of the paper. And I get goosebumps as I talk about it because I knew in that moment that is what my purpose was. I knew at a very young age, this is what I was supposed to
Wow.
do.
Wow. And I can feel being inspired at 5, but you knew it deep down and you never deviated, did you?
No, ma'am. Not for
Wow.
a beat, not for a skip. I was in high school and I didn't take advantage of the programs that they might have for nursing at other high schools, but I knew right out the gate out of high school I went to a school of nursing, and that's where I stood. I grounded myself. Mhm.
All right. So here's the thing though. This is what you wanted. I mean, you saw this, you had this picture of a nurse, this pristine picture of a nurse since you were 5 years old, and you always wanted that. When you got there, what were the challenges?
Oh, I can see you smiling because this question is also loaded. So many, right? And I think I always kind of held that picture like the kind of picture, this is what it's supposed to be. But then I entered this space, and I think all of us nurses can attest to just nursing school itself. What a
Mhm.
struggle and
Yeah.
transformation that was. Just trying to get our bearings onto, I mean, just like the first patient you ever take care of in nursing school, like that very first patient, and that sticks with you. And that kind of lays the groundwork and the foundation of like, is this what I really want? Moving forward, am I going to be able to do this? So I think there was a lot of questions of self. And I think that really began my journey in healing all of my stuff personally and leading me into this professional space of, yeah, this is what I want, but how am I going to go about it to make it work for
Hmm.
myself and for others?
Hmm.
Because being in a place of service is clearly what I wanted from jump and always
Hmm.
have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. I when I ask that question, and sometimes I go back to my own nursing school days, and
Mhm.
this was like 50 years ago,
Mm.
and I remember very clearly thinking that, oh God, I've joined a nunnery. This is not.
I'm laughing because I was like, like, what
Yeah,
kind of cult did I just sign up for here that nobody, this wasn't part of it. They didn't say this part.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
So you have worked in predominantly the acute areas, the ICU,
Mhm.
the ER, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Were those always the areas you worked?
Yeah. So when I started out, as I was taking my boards and doing that, I started off on a telemetry unit, like the step down unit from ICU, basically in this
Mhm.
hospital, and it was also half of the renal floor.
Okay.
Um, so I worked kind of both sides, and I did not pass my boards the first time. So I'm very transparent about that because I don't think we talk about that a lot as nurses too. We put a lot of
Uh-huh.
emphasis, but that was, I wasn't a good test taker. The anxiety would kick up, and I would ride those questions, and then I didn't get the first time. So
Yeah.
I got to, but it was in my advantage because what happened was I kind of took the step back and I was able to almost be in like a GPN role until I could take my boards again. I learned so much about medications, about patient care, about bedside manner, about really what it is to be a nurse. So I'm very grateful.
Mhm.
That time I didn't. And then when I did pass my boards, I was able to do telemetry. I quickly became, as one does a new nurse, we all work nights. Other most, I don't know, one new nurse was like, yeah, I work 12-hour nights. I'm like, right there with you, sis.
Okay.
So that led me very quickly to be charged on nights for telemetry. And I want to be careful. I got bored, I would say, quickly. I needed more challenging there. And I knew I was very intrigued by intensive care. I liked the acute care. I loved, I could geek out all day on how our systems work. I love knowing how things work from a cellular level. So I shortly transferred to ICU, and shout out to my preceptor, Wendy. She was amazing. I lucked out with the best nursing preceptor. She was very calm, very
Mhm.
caring and loving and compassionate in everything she did, including guiding me into becoming a nurse that I wanted to be. So
Yeah.
I was very grateful for that. And then, yeah, I just took off from there, ICU, CCU. And then after my first daughter, I started doing local traveling. I got out of that position and I started doing that. I really was, again, ER and trauma really spoke out. I wanted
Mhm.
to do different things there. So, I did local agency in several different hospitals doing ICU, CCU, and then I ventured out to post open heart and balloon pumps. So I was like, yeah, what is the most challenging thing I could possibly add to my plate? And those are particularly the things that kind of piqued my interest. I love
So,
them.
so, so you are one of those people who likes hard things.
Yes, yes, that's kind of my MO. If you don't know me personally, Dale, you're going to know real quick is that challenge accepted all of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so I get the feeling as I'm listening to you talk, nobody better tell you you can't do something.
100%. Oh yeah, I'm fiery. I'm a little spicy, and that also lended to me being very humbled very quickly about what nursing also does to you personally. I'm
Yeah,
sure we'll get into.
yeah.
Yes.
But what would you think you'd like to see change though, with overall in
Ooh.
nursing life per se?
Mm. So I'm huge on education. I'm huge on education and teaching in every realm, right? And kind of in my intro, right, the whole body thing, which
Yeah.
I think I know from experience that the messaging is always do, go, 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 put yourself on the back burner. And that seems to be the messaging, I mean, for women across the board, let alone nurses.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what I have learned through that space is that is to my detriment. Because what is that saying? If mom ain't happy, nobody happy.
Yeah.
So I think if we can start really incorporating from nursing school standpoint, from when you enter a nursing program, how important it is for self-care. And I say self-care like if you can't see me in quotations, because what that looks like for me is polar opposite of what it might look like for you, right? So I think it's important to learn boundaries in regards to the profession and how that is going to suit you moving forward. And, the things that we see as nurses, right in front of our face is very traumatic. It can be very traumatic. And we need to leave time and space for that so we can be able to recharge, refuel, refill our well. So we have the capacity to hold those things. And I didn't see any of that, particularly when I went to nursing school. It was just clinicals. It was, this is what you learned about the body and medications. I worked at a level 1 trauma center that would have residencies, and I didn't see
Yeah.
that in the doctors either. It wasn't something particular, that wellness, like holistic wellness was really incorporated there. So I think scratching the surface there, and I think there's a huge conversation and things we can change from that very beginning portion of it that could make a vast difference in nursing going forward. 100%.
Yeah. In fact, you say that you didn't see it. I think I would go one step further and say that attitudes actively, whether it was verbalized or not, actively discouraged it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
if you so much as dared to call and say you need a mental day,
Mm.
what do you mean?
What?
You know?
Yeah.
But that's just the tip of that,
Yeah. Yeah,
How
no,
could
I
you?
100% agree with you with that.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So you just touched on self-care. So what do you do to care for you? Because you just told me you have done all these things and now you are mom of 5 and wife of 1 and coach and so what do you do to care for Dawn?
Oh yeah, like I'm taking a minute to actually think. My 2 little ones were very sick this week, so not much. I would say meditation while they're taking a bath for 2 minutes would probably be in that category, right? I think, and I can honestly say, from I've been a nurse coach now for going on 3 years, and this being a coach and having a coach, has really helped me grow my capacity to hold all of this. So I'm not judging myself and not putting myself down if I didn't get to something. Right? I think that's the big part. Like my self care contains being really nice to myself and letting go of judgment and ideas and expectations that are up here that just don't make sense. So you know what? We got through this week. Everybody's on the mend, and I'm sitting here doing this with you. And that was my goal for the week, and I'm nailing it. So I like to keep the bar low so I don't trip over it every day and land
Yeah.
on my face. Especially with 5 children going in 5 different directions. I just don't see the point in battering myself further and putting myself in that zone. So, yeah, if I can get to, but on days I can, I exercise, I lift heavy weights, I walk, I meditate, try to get 10 minutes in if I can, a couple days a week. Just I have a coach, so having a space where I get to be around like-minded people, that understand and can empathize and be compassionate about what I'm going through is huge. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And as you're talking, the one thing that I learned along the way, finally, when I started paying attention, is that you can actually put a whole lot, when I say a whole lot, I don't mean it to sound like a lot of activity, but a lot of rejuvenation in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
You
refill.
really can, you can refill in a very short time if that's what you have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have very high energy to begin with, and I get that a lot. Like, well, I mean, I do have like 5 kids, but I'm naturally very high energy. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person to begin with. So I think that gives me an unfair advantage because if you can take care of 5 kids, I kind of like, well, what can I do at this point? I'm just going to keep trying because, failure for me and the word no, it doesn't resonate the same. And that is what I've learned along the way too, is like, these are all learning lessons. And I keep reminding myself I'm a soul having a human experience. It's not like this meat suit, it'll get you down if you allow it, right? You really have to shift perspective and that takes patience with yourself. That takes a unconditional love of self and taking a step back and looking at things differently. So you don't keep making the same mistakes or, I think we call that insanity, right? Where you do the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. Yeah, I really don't want to be in that space because it just stresses me out. And I'm not good to myself or anybody if I'm really stressed out right now.
Yeah, I got that. I understand that. So now you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. What what nursing skills do you find to be most helpful as an entrepreneur?
All of them. There's not one I can't, like resilience, battling burnout, setting boundaries, taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, like whole body wellness, like literally every bedside skill professionally I have learned. Intuition, right? Intuition is huge, intuitive. And in my future version, I'm geared towards kind of I would love to present and teach nurses how to be intuitive, how to really hold on to that and know and stop second guessing what is already built within us. So that I would say just all of those skills combined, and then being able to also unlearn things that I learned bedside that,
Mhm.
you know, are different in entrepreneurship, especially as a nurse life coach in this space.
Yeah, yeah. But as you said all of them, and the first thing that came to mind was, isn't it interesting how this nursing thing just fits you for everything else?
Yes, ma'am.
It
Yes,
just,
on
it just
every
appears
aspect,
to
every
everything.
level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had no way of knowing that when we started this journey.
Oh no, we're such just so naive, and God bless us like children. And I'm kind of happy I was, because I
Good
think
thing.
if we walked into it already all knowing like that, I mean, we'd be like, okay, nope, nope, this isn't for, like,
Yes.
there wouldn't be any nurses, because I don't think that setup would be healthy either. So I think a good amount of being naive, right? So it's not fear based until a certain
Yeah,
extent, like that, so you can get over that and work through things for sure.
you can. You can. What would you say though? I mean, you have done a lot. I go back again, you've done a lot. What gives you the most satisfaction when you look back at the things you've done?
Hmm. Are we talking? See, this is where I guess like professionally, but it's also personal for me. They're
It's
very intermingled. Um,
exactly. So
very
it doesn't
intermingled.
matter whether you're talking professionally or personally because
Okay.
they're all
Hmm.
Dawn.
Yes. Oh, I like the way thank you, Dale, for the I'm gonna copyright that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think personally I lived through a lot of childhood trauma
Mm,
and all of those things. And then I think that also though made me very compassionate as a nurse and empathetic to humans, just of
mhm,
the human condition.
mhm.
So that made me really think about what I think about spirit or soul or whatever you want to label that as.
Yeah,
That allowed me to open up to my intuition more and ask questions and be really
yeah.
curious about this stuff. Something about me too. I became a widow at 34 with three young children. So we're coming up on 8 years of that as well. So that I would say probably not only did that personally, but it put me in a position that I really was like, what am I doing? Like, what do I want to do
Yeah.
moving forward, especially as a nurse? Like, I've
Hmm.
done this for so many people professionally. Now it happened to me. Like, what am I going to do about it? So for me, that landed me into this beautiful nurse coaching realm. That was presented to me by my best friend in a time I was going through a really rough space. I had also had a miscarriage with I'm remarried now, obviously, and we have two more
Hmm.
children, and I had a miscarriage in between. And I was like, you know what, with all this loss and all this stuff, like there's got to be more to this. And when I found nurse coaching, I was like, oh, there is more. Oh, you mean I can do and help people from this space and prioritize my needs? Sign me up. That was it. That was like the done deal for me. I'm like, this is it. This is what I need. Like, this is how I'm going to heal so I can help other people heal. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you talked about finding that space. And this is something I also think that we need to introduce student nurses, young nurses to
Yeah.
very, very early on.
Yes.
I believe, quite honestly, that if you knew that there was such a big, vast area where you could maneuver
Mm.
and that we would have a lot less of this burnout thing.
Oh,
Cannot
yeah.
tell you how long I went through into my career before I realized, wait a minute, there's so much else that I can do,
Yeah.
you know? And
Same. Yeah.
yeah, And I really think that I wish that we could let nurses know very, very early that, you have all of this.
Mhm.
You can just do. You can just
Yeah,
do.
I'm working on it. I'm hammering away at it. I'm reaching out to every college campus that offers nurse. I will reach out and speak to. I mean, those clearly have no problem talking. So I will reach out to everyone and everyone that is in front of me because I know I am my own best example at
Hmm.
how amazing this space can be, especially as a nurse. And I 100% agree with you. There has to be fluidity here. There's no permanency. And I think,
Right.
I know there are actually, I did a presentation to a hospital that included like how nurse life coaches, nurse wellness coaches coming into it is actually we're holding nurses in retention and nurses are happier. They're
Yes.
setting boundaries with burnout. We're not confusing resilience with burnout anymore. Like those are the things that, yes, absolutely, we have to set that stage. And just knowing that we get to create whatever we want here.
Yes.
Like, right? I mean, I'm a mom of five and I have my own business and I'm still doing all of those things because it's what I choose, what I want it to
Yeah.
be. So
Yeah.
if there's anything anybody gets out of this conversation is that they really have to know how capable they are of creating this space, whether they're a nurse or not. But particularly my heart for nurses is huge because we're right there. We're in front of the action all day,
All
every
the time.
day, all the time. And we have to know that we can really, really hold that space for those patients and clients and people we care about and not absorb it into our own. And I think that's something I know. I gotta get corrected myself. I know from experience, professionally and personally, that how important that is. So we don't reach and headbutt burnout all the time, and we're
Yeah.
questioning our worth, or questioning what we're doing, or really failing, so to speak, personally, and not happy in our personal space.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I have another question. So you wanted to be a nurse all along, and I know that you had to verbalize it. What would you say though is the best advice you have received regarding nursing?
The best advice I was, I would probably be from my preceptor in ICU.
Mm,
I remember the first code, like the code blue in IC was very intense and very, and and I remember getting really panicked, I mean, it's your first until you have experience, just
yeah.
like anything else, right? You're like, and I just remember
Yeah.
her softly putting her hand on my hand and go, we have time, slow down, look at the situation. And it occurred to me that we don't ever do that as nurses, like across the board. I'm like, so for new nurses coming in, just know, when you get into situations like this, because you will, is to take the deep breath and go, okay, what do I need to do right in this moment and do it and
And
not
do it.
fumble and stumble, like, because the more you get caught up in that part of it, of the fact, like the more you just keep tripping over the same monster.
Yeah.
So I think just take the breath and slow down. We got time. We got
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's awesome advice actually,
Oh, she
because
was. I wish I could copy and repeat her for every preceptor in every hospital. Like I love her immensely, and she was always cheering me on, and that's probably another part of it. Stop chewing up our young,
yeah,
right?
oh,
Like let them have the experience you may not have had. Like gift that to them. That is a play. That is being of service.
yeah,
Fully, like full
yeah,
circle as
yeah,
full circle.
yeah,
I just made up a word. Full circle as a nurse. Full circle as a nurse. Is that is you're really going to be truly in a place of service. You want to hand that baton to the next
yeah,
nurse and one
yeah.
coming.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to hand it. In any case, you've got to hand the baton. So you might as well do it in the best possible way. And I
Absolutely.
think that honestly, we need to remember that these nurses coming along are the ones who are going to have to take care of us. So even from a purely selfish reason,
Yep. I mean, just think when you're in that bed, what kind of nurse do you want?
exactly. Even from a purely selfish standpoint, please.
Dale, I love your transparency here. I'm gonna applaud you. I think it's beautiful, your honesty and transparency, because it's true. That is truth, right? Like, who are you
Yes,
gonna want bedside? Do you want the burnout, frustrated nurse who's not healthy herself, who's probably gonna be in the bed next to you if she keeps it up? Or
yeah,
do you want the nurse who still holds compassion and remembers why she became a nurse to begin?
exactly. Exactly. So there you go. I have one more question.
Shoot.
And I'll tell you why I asked this. I started to recognize that I could recognize nurses without someone telling me they were a nurse. And I began to sort of, well, I wasn't quite sure what I was seeing. I would just know it.
Mhm.
And I started to wonder if anybody could see it in me. And so I started asking the question, if you could tell me in one word what you think of as the most essential quality of a nurse, what would that word be?
Ooh, soulful,
Soulful?
soulful, full of soul.
Okay. Okay.
Eternal light, soulfulness.
I think that's the first time I've had that one.
Well, you're welcome.
But you know what asking that question has taught me though is that I know instinctively and intrinsically that we're not all the same. We're not one brand. We come differently. And yet, as I ask the question and I get so many different words, I begin to realize that there are so many unique and yet shared qualities
Mhm.
to nursing, and everyone sees a different quality in that nurse. And I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think it's
Yeah. Well, and I think that to me just really speaks volumes about
Mhm.
us being part of a collective, right? That I
Yes,
think we forget, especially now with all the external noise, if you will, that we forget we are part of this collective. And the more we take care of ourselves and the better we are to us, the better it just adds, right? Because our
yes,
energy speaks before we do, always.
yes,
So if,
yes,
if we can really understand that and absorb that and know that, again, it will help us take care of ourselves so we can be better for it.
yes, yes. You said that so well. Our energy speaks before we do.
Does
That's true. That's absolutely true. Dawn, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for this conversation. I have enjoyed every minute of it.
Same, Dale. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.